Overlords Podcast. I'm Max, and this is a video game show where I'm joined every week by someone who can tell us the exact release date of every upcoming MMO. It's Sema. Hello there, Sema.
I can do that. They're coming in the future.
We won't.
Possibly.
You could predict every single one. We won't make you this week because we're going to talk about a whole lot of them, aren't we?
Yeah. And some of them are so far in the future that their future might be very unclear.
Always in motion is the future, absolutely. And yes, some of them are definitely unclear, especially the ones that like just got canceled and things like that.
Right.
And like one of them got canceled and uncanceled. We'll talk about that one, a bunch of those. So yeah, we're going to go through ones that are in early access and playable right now. We're going to go through ones that are just like a dream in somebody's eye. So we've got a pretty big list, which is, I think, going to be fun. I really was excited to keep track of these and then just see what else is coming up and what's getting canceled and what's getting rearranged and what's going to come out in 10 years at the earliest and that kind of thing. But before we get into all those, let's talk a little bit about some news.
Good news, everyone!
So first up in the news, this is kind of good to see that maybe we aren't all the way there yet on $80 being the new price point for video games. So this news came out this week, didn't it? Where Microsoft is coming out with Outer Worlds 2 this fall. They announced the price was going to be $80, and this past week they said, "Nah, we mean 70. It'll be 70." So whatever kind of market analysis they did, they decided to, even the people had already been pre-ordering at 80. Microsoft had decided to back it up, give refunds to anybody that already pre-ordered at 80 to give them, reimburse them the $10 and say, now 70 is more reasonable. And maybe we're not all the way to that $80 price point for games, unless you're Nintendo. Because Nintendo, has two games, right? No, I guess the Donkey Kong game is at 70 also. Mario Kart World is at 80. The Donkey Kong game is at 70. Grand Theft Auto is expected to come out at $1,000 again, and everyone will pay it in the world because for whatever reason, yeah, it is expected to come out. Yeah,
numbers are weird though, anyway, aren't they? Because like I'm sitting here thinking, there's not life-changing difference between $70 and $80 for me.
No,
but at the same time,
right.
If I had a $10 bill in my hand, I would value it and I would say, you know what, I could eat lunch with this, or I could, do whatever. But I don't really.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird to think about, and I've been obviously doing some research on this on the side. At the low end, there's like an enormous difference between $10 and $20. That's a huge difference. And like how the game will be perceived, how many people will buy it, the market difference between a $10 game and a $20 game is very, very small. But you're right. I don't think there's barely any difference, I would think, between 70 and 80. If you're willing to spend $70 on, whatever, Outer Worlds 2, you'd probably be willing to play $80.
Right. Like the games I already play, when they went up and up and up and up, I just paid it.
Right. Now, if they came all the way down to like 60 or 40, those are bigger price breaks, I would think. So like Jay Melman in the chat room saying, I no longer buy games over $50. I think that's reasonable. And there's so many good games that are coming out right now, even like the high-end AAAs at $40 and $50. And $50 is a really good price for a AAA game, and really good from the historical perspective as well. Inflation adjusted, blah, blah, blah. Games should be costing more than $40 or $50 these days based on what we were paying for the games on like Atari and Nintendo 64 back in the day. But yeah, I think $50 in my mind is a fine price for a high quality AAA game, whereas $80 just does sound ridiculous to me. And $70 also sounds ridiculous to me. Like $60 I could take. They spent a long time. This is the problem. They spent a long time not raising prices. they should have been raising prices like $2 a year every year, or $5 once every 3 years, and they probably would have been fine. But they did no price increase for 12 years, and then they decided to go all the way to 80. You can't, no, yeah, that's too much sticker shock.
You need to manage us better than that.
Right. You need to
So what's
boil,
do you
boil
have
us frogs a little bit more.
Yeah, a little more slowly. Which by the way has been disproved, but anyway.
Yes, you're right.
Do you have a number in mind? Like maybe I'm asking Jay Melman this, a same kind of number, but for movies, like you say, I won't go to a movie or see a movie if it's over a certain. Because that's what I always say to myself is like, if I pay X amount of dollars for this game, like I pay $15 a month or whatever it is to play WoW, I feel like I get way more than one movie's worth of fun for that month.
That's a weird comparison, right? I agree with the dissonance. Because going to a movie theater can cost, take your kids to a movie theater and you're going to pay $100.
Well, yeah, yes, if you for multiple
people. How
much
is a one-person movie ticket these days? $20?
Yeah, I don't know.
And yeah, so and you get 2 hours for it's at least 50. It's got to be 20, because if I'm thinking it's 15 and I haven't been to I go to a movie theater like once a year at the most, it's probably $20. And you get 2 hours of entertainment for $20. Whereas for games, most games will at a minimum give you like $1 an hour's worth of entertainment. No game has less than 50 hours of content that costs $50 typically. So it should, it's not a bad price point for the amount of entertainment and the amount that it costs. So, but yeah, why do movies get to charge you $20? Well, because movies are a scam. I was watching a YouTube video about Hollywood accounting, and it's just a huge scam. The theaters need to make money, yes, and then the studios just scam everyone out of money.
Okay, so like even independent of if movies are a real price or not, I just meant like how we feel about that price. Like it seems it's a little bit arbitrary that we say $70 or $80 is too much for a game.
Yes.
And it's also arbitrary. Like,
if I only bought
like saying
one game a year,
I'm not paying $3 for a cup of coffee.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a trick there, because coffee and video games are something that you and I buy all the time. Whereas I only go to the movie theater like once or twice a year. And if they told me it was $50 a ticket, I would probably just pay it, because I don't know. And I'm only going once a year.
Yeah.
So if I was going to the movie theater like every week, and it was $15 this week, and they wanted to charge me $25 the next week, I would probably like, $25? What? I've been paying $15 for the last 17 weeks straight.
Or what if it was like, I guess this is kind of true in some circumstances, but what if it was like $20 for this movie and $25 for this movie at the same theater?
That's probably what it should be. It should be value pricing. And all the Marvel movies would be $80 because it's Marvel. And all the indie films would have to price their movies at like $5. But maybe they would get more people coming to see the movie. Yeah, why are they all the same price? They probably shouldn't be. Yes, because Superman is like a premium movie just because it's popular and it's a big brand and all of that. Yeah, I don't know. That's good question. But that's not what we're here to talk about. I hate it when game websites have all like half their front page is all about movies. So we're not talking about movies.
So we're not that. We're not doing that.
Yeah, we're not.
Heck no, man.
All right. Next up in the news, actual video game news. I just thought this was nice to see. So Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is getting a big update. So they're getting a third-person mode They're getting new game plus modes. They're getting expanded content. So third person mode, I didn't realize that one because I played like the first third of this game. And I guess I've got a lot of games right now because they're all first person. I get used to it and I play games in first person now. I used to hate games that were in first person. I would not play them, but now I do quite often because they just are. But yeah, having it be in third person mode, I like that. That's cool. But it was
and going back and adding it in too, as I like that, right? It just sounds like,
right.
yeah, we want to appeal to more people, which that feels good to me.
I think it's nice to see these big titles getting additional content. I don't think they have to, and we shouldn't expect them to. And in fact, I think that is a flaw in a lot of game. I don't have to say a lot, but some gamers' perspective is, well, if I buy a game from you, then you need to spend the rest of your life doing updates for that game and entertaining me for forever. But you only paid me $20 for this game that I nope. I bought your game. You are now beholden to me. Work forever. You are now my slave for the rest of your life. Create content because I bought your game. You do get that sentiment here and there from people once in a while on forums. It's like I heard, and this is because the sub bullet under here that I have, which is Starfield's coming out with more content. I do keep track on discussion forums and the Reddit threads around Starfield, and the discussion around Starfield has been, they're not making any more content. They're not making many more expansions for Starfield. This game is dead. It's a single player game you bought and you played. It was neither alive nor dead. It's not how that kind of thing works. For us to treat single player games like there's some sort of like MMO where you need some amount of people to be playing at once for there to be like a social population. That's not the way this works. That's not the way any of this works. And Starfield is putting out additional content, and another expansion is coming out. That Todd Howard teased another expansion this past week. So not only are you wrong that you should be expecting it, but you're also wrong because they are putting it out. So
you're just wrong.
You're just wrong, so wrong. And wrong. This is why the internet is wrong. Wasn't that a thing I tried to do at some point? There's going to be a segment, why the internet is wrong this week. Yeah. I was going to make a persona because I would never post this myself on any of these forums, but I was going to make a persona, and the name of the account was going to be, "This is what you sound like." And then I would respond agreeing with all of these posts and saying things like, "Yeah, you're right. These if I paid $20, they should have to work for the rest of their lives creating content for me." Then I would post that as a response. People wouldn't get the sarcasm, for one. For two, nobody wants to feel like they are dumb and stupid, so it would be downvoted anyway. And three, don't wrestle with pigs because you'll just get all muddy and the pigs like it. All right. Moving on. The final bit of news I wanted to throw in here, because again, there's nice things happening around games that people are saying are dead, terrible, it's the worst ever, Civ 6. Well, this still could be evidence for those people to like proving their point, but Epic Games Store. This is a commentary on Epic Games Store as well, but Epic Games Store as of today, and it might be done today or it might be tomorrow if you're hearing this podcast as it's coming out on the field, go check right away. Epic Games Store is giving away free Civ 6 Platinum Edition. It's only 1 week, and it's for free. So Epic Games Store, again, trying to compete. We were talking about this in the pre-show, trying to still trying to make fetch happen with their game store versus Steam. And okay, so the 2 seconds of what we were talking about in the pre-show. As a consumer, I like competition because that keeps things sort of innovative and keeps things fresh. It keeps people working for me. For two, though, I don't want multiple services because I love just all my games in one place. Just like when Netflix was first invented, my wish for the future was that there would be Netflix and only Netflix forever, and all content ever from all time in the past and future would only be on Netflix. So I could have one thing and it could just
And
all be there.
everything would be there.
Yeah.
Nothing would ever leave. Yeah.
Right. And we wouldn't have to like, oh, you got to subscribe to Peacock for this week to if you want to watch that show, and you got to buy that one off of Apple TV, and that one comes off of the Tubi or whatever the hell the next thing is, for one. For two, I do know from a game developer perspective, a little more competition would be great, because Steam, as great as they are for, again, creating this great collection of games for me as a gamer, they take a lot of money. They take a lot of money from everybody. They just skim 30% off the top. They make so much profit. It's ridiculous. So having a little bit more competition, so maybe that 30% could be reinvested back in the games would be great. It would be nice. All right. That is it for that news. Should we talk about the coming soon? I'm whittling down the list, but there's 3 things that I'm interested in that are what's left, which is something that came out yesterday, Wildgate. Did you look at any of? You probably didn't. I was actually watching.
I watched a trailer a while back, but yes.
I was watching it on Twitch for a little while last night, which I don't usually do, but this is the kind of thing that I feel like I would need to watch on Twitch for a while before I would want to jump in, because it's PvP. I guess if you get your group of 4 together, or 2, you have to have at least 2 people. You can play against the AI a little bit, but there's no PvE mode of this game. But it does look, so it's groups. It's 3 groups or 4 groups? 3 teams or 4 teams of 4? I think it might be 3 teams of 4 that then are all duking it out. Yeah, it's either 3 or 4. They're all duking it out. You're flying your spaceship, and you got your team of 4. You got to keep the spaceship running. You got to man the guns. Somebody's got to pilot it. And then you can also jump out into space and do things like board the enemy ship and try to like shoot them or steal their stuff. But even when I was watching it, it seems exciting. It seems fun, and I want to play it. But I need to get a couple more people together. I've already got like one person that's jumping in. I might even try to get it going tonight. Be able to talk about it next week. But it looks tough, like easy to play, but tough to master. And there's a lot of people who have mastered it already. Although if the game gets popular, maybe you'll be able to have more like ranking and be able to play with other people that are your skill level. Because I was watching some teams out there on Twitch and listening to them, and they knew what was going on. They're like, no, dude, move this over here, do this thing. Oh, we got to add this and grab these resources, blah, blah, blah. And they were losing. So it's like, how can you know all of how everything works already in this game that just came out today? Well, some people were playing it in early access and still be losing because other teams are, elite and even know what they're doing even more. I didn't see a lot of people winning, which was weird. I didn't finish watching Shroud. I don't like to watch Shroud. I think he's overrated. Shouldn't say that. You won't play my game. We wouldn't anyway. Shroud, I don't mean it. Come play Guardian of Goat. But I should have watched the rest of his match and seen if his team, because he is a lead gamer, see if his team would have won. Would have been interesting. But it looks fun. It does look fun. I do wish there was a PvE mode. You can play against AI, and maybe that'll be enough and feel good enough. But I do wish there was more of that, because sometimes I just would rather not play against other people.
But yeah, okay. I guess playing against AI, but I'm asking, it's a PvP game. What would PvE content even be?
Well, in this case, it's AI bots controlling the other 2 enemy teams.
Right.
Which I would be fine with. So you're right. I don't need like some different mode where you're like assaulting a planet or some
Right.
I just mean like
Or
when you play
or you open up a
against the
fashion
computer.
business.
It's like playing chess against the computer. I still want to play chess, but maybe I just want to play chess against the computer. I used to do that's
Yeah.
mostly the
No,
way
I
I
get that.
played uh StarCraft. StarCraft. There it is, right behind me. That's mostly the way I played StarCraft because I didn't want to, get into a queue and like get what's your ranking and that kind of thing. PvE modes could be interesting too, but I would just be happy to play against bots for a while just to see it, play it, get the feel of it. Because I would also, for this kind of game, especially at the beginning, I would like to not have to play it really twitchy and sweaty, so that I could like wander around the ship and look at it and look at all the models that they've created and watch the special effects of each of the weapons. And you kind of can't do that if you're actually playing in a match. You try to watch people play it on Twitch and like they don't like their camera isn't focused on any one thing for more than like 0.3 seconds. It's like because like okay, put out the fire, now I got to run over here, and I got to jump over here, and I got to do a thing, and unless you're doing all that fast, you're just getting killed, and then you can't see anything anyway because you're blowing up and you're dead. So when I start out like that, it's nice to be able just to explore and have a little bit of leisure time. And so tutorial modes, playing against bots, that kind of thing could be kind of fun. And then the other two games that are coming out that we are excited about as well are Grounded 2 and Tales of the Shire. And both of those are coming out just prior to this podcast next week, right? They're coming out on Tuesday next week, 29th. I think next week maybe we'll talk more about Wildgate and Tales of the Shire. If I can actually play Wildgate, that would be fun. I don't know if I'm going to buy Tales of the Shire. I'm going to watch some videos and maybe watch some people playing it and see if it can get over the coziness enough to have enough of a game loop to interest me. I'm not interested in cozy for cozy's sake, and that's the only game loop is how you can like chat with the little ugly little hobbit, because they're all so ugly. They use that art style from the old 1980s Hobbit movie, which nobody liked. I don't know why they went that direction. But what I am excited to play, but will not be ready to talk about next week because I will want to sink some significant time into it, and maybe you as well, Sema. You gonna play with me? We're gonna
Sure, yeah.
play it together. Get our buggies to ride around on our little mouse. Yep. You gonna turn on arachnophobia mode? I'm gonna be able to play with that.
Drink little droplets of dew.
Yes, shake them off the branch so they fall down and you can drink it. Can't wait. That should be fun because it's just such a well-crafted game in that kind of genre. I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and that should be fun the next couple weeks. But that is it for the news. This podcast is brought to you by LA Yacht S, the gaming community that Sema and I are part of. Big event coming up starting this weekend, and then we'll culminate on our annual Remembrance Day event on August 2nd, where we have games. Each of the games is got in-game events that the community makes up that are fun, and there's even like a couple like one-shot D&D sessions that you can sign up for. A lot of really fun thing in our summer event that we have every year. So that's AIE-guild.org. You can get in there, just jump in there, jump in the Discord, see if there's anything you want to jump in this week. Feel free. This is also brought to you by Garden and a Goat. We actually don't know the answer yet, but the fox is in, and we are now trying to figure out what the fox says.
What does the fox? Yeah.
So we did get that.
That's a cast back.
Yeah. It's not that far. When was that? 2 years ago? 3 years ago? It's probably 20 years ago. What does the fox say?
Right. I mean, maybe not 20, but it's definitely not 2.
So let's see where I can bring up the little. Here it is. Will our
11 years ago.
11 years ago. Jiminy Christmas. Will put this little gift together just to show off the fox. So there's our fox. It's one of the oak forest animals. And if you look in the beginning of the little GIF, you do get a glimpse. You do get a glimpse of the landscaping changes that we've been hard at work on that are going to be coming out in Alpha 2, which will probably be ready for private testing in about 3 weeks. We hope 3 weeks, probably maybe like a week or so after that, depending on how many bugs we want to fix to get ready for it. But if you want to be involved in any of that closed alpha testing, jump in our Discord at gardenandagoat.com. You can get to the Discord there, gardenandagoat.com/Discord. I think it will take you right to the Discord. There's a channel where you can express your interest, and we'll pull you in. We're going to definitely want more people in this closed alpha too. So we are not filled at this point. So if you put your name in there, you're pretty much guaranteed to get an alpha key. Fun. All right, Sema. Now we talk about, did I thank everyone out there, all of you in the chat room and listening and subscribing and thumbs up and ringing the bell? All of you, definitely thank you as well. Sorry. All right, future.
Difficult to see. Always in motion is the future.
Oh, I wasn't even showing. I didn't click over to this. I wasn't showing this on the screen at the time. Here's the fox. Here's the fox. I meant to show it on the screen.
Oh, wait. Yeah, we saw it.
Oh, you did? Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good. I don't even know what I'm doing. Future. Always in motion is the future. All right. So tell us, Sema, exactly when is Star Citizen going to really... No, don't.
Oh.
Don't, because that's the worst. Yeah.
Star Citizen not being a game is a game.
Yes. Yeah, and we'll kind of talk about that. We're going to break this into a couple chunks. There are a series of games that are playable right now, either early access or alphas or betas, but playable games, future MMOs. So we're going to start with those. Then we're also going to talk about ones that are coming relatively soon, and we should be seeing maybe like by the end of the year or early next year. And then we'll do a quick rundown of the ones that are just kind of like early ideas, and or maybe we've even seen some of the things like Ralph Koster's Star's Reach and the Ghost from Fantastic Pixel Castle Ghost Crawlers game. They're showing things. They're even having like little mini tests, but those are probably many years out in that final category. So we'll go through some of those. But yeah, I was excited for this. I like to keep track of MMOs. I have been wishing for new fun MMOs because it's been a genre that I have played for many, many years. But yeah, we haven't really gotten the big next gen MMO. Like to me, New World was kind of that, and that's been a few years out now. Well, probably 12 years. Who knows? I don't do time as we find out. But New World was one of those for me, where it was a next gen MMO, and I was really excited by that, and I want to see more of those next gen MMOs. Some of these on this list are not.
What made New World next gen?
Modern game engine.
Okay, that's where I thought you were gonna go. Better looking graphics.
That's number one for me. Is it looks like a modern game. If you do 16-bit pixel graphics, maybe you can make a wonderful game. But to me, that doesn't, that does not like a modern MMO feel. Something like, and I don't think it's supposed to be. We're going to talk about, and we have talked about Brighter Shores. I don't count Brighter Shores as a modern MMO, and they're not even trying to sell it as a modern MMO. They're trying to sell it as a retro MMO. Core Punk. We'll talk about Core Punk. I think Core Punk is a modern MMO, and it's stylized, and the graphics are not like it's not like Unreal 5, but it's modern gameplay, and it's modern combat, and it's taking some new things and introducing them to the genre, some that other modern games bring to the table, like ARPGs, and I think that makes it new and different. And modern. I think Star Citizen is a modern MMO. So we'll talk about some of those. So that's what I'm excited for. I'm not as excited for like the classic reboots, like WoW Classic. That was cool, and it is cool. And in fact, we're in the futures we'll talk about Classic Plus, which was probably a couple years out, but it's going to be a whole new thing. But it's going to be retro classic and a revival of something older. And I'm not as excited about those because I played it. I played all of those for many, many years. So if you told me, if you told me you're reviving, whatever, WildStar, WildStar servers, you're going to bring WildStar servers back online and everybody can play WildStar again. Not interesting to me because I played WildStar and I know what WildStar is. Maybe I would still play it even, but that's not going to get me excited for the future because I don't look at that as future. That's me.
I have kind of the opposite, right? When I hear about modern or next gen MMO, to me that just says whatever I love about MMOs, they're going to change to something else.
So you have trepidation if somebody says we're making a modern MMO.
Right. Like I'm fine if you want to make it a different graphics or on a different engine, all that stuff. But as soon as you start saying, oh, a gameplay is going to be different, then I'm like, well, okay, but how is that not a shooter, or how is that not, like you just said?
Yes.
A JRPG, yeah.
However, I would argue that retail WoW has been modernizing incessantly every expansion.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So
but
I count
modern,
them to some degree as a modern MMO, although I'd like their graphics.
Except for combat is the same. I mean, it gets different features and it grows more and less complex, but it's the same.
Yeah,
and it's not a side
True.
shooter. It's not action.
It's still
combat.
tab target combat. You're right.
Yeah, right. And they've updated a little bit how tab target works, but yeah, and
I'm fine with more of that changing, but I don't think you
and
have
also
a bad perspective of like a modern MMO, but you still want tab target. So I think you could constrain it to say, yeah, I want a new modern MMO as well, but I kind of like tab target. I'd still like that to be, tab target, make sure it's got RPG elements, make sure I've got like skills and abilities and armor, and not doing like weird other breaking.
But on the other hand, if it's not different, then why do I play it? Why would I play it?
I think that's a good question. And I ask that question in my head when I look at what a lot of these quote unquote emerging in development ideas of MMOs are, when their pitch is, remember how EverQuest 1 worked? We're going to do that. There's a few in this list that's their pitch. And I kind of agree. You can still play EverQuest. Why if that's what you're pitching me, EverQuest did it brilliantly. EverQuest was probably the best EverQuest. So why wouldn't I just go play EverQuest?
Right.
I think you do need to do something different, and I don't play games like we all used to play games, and not many people play games like we used to play games when there was only 3 MMOs, and that was just the way you played the game.
Right. So I guess where I'm going is, why do we even need new MMOs? It's sort of like, because what we think of as an MMO isn't even how people play games anymore. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why it's hard to get financing to make a new MMO, because it's hyper expensive, but nobody can say for sure there's a market for it.
Correct. It is really, really hard. And I don't know the answer to that. And maybe it's too much to ask, and maybe it's wishes that have no answer. Like, yeah. I want this magical new MMO that is going to be modern and, really nice graphics, and that I'm going to love and want to play all day for the next couple of years. Maybe that's unrealistic, and there's nothing that could be created that would really satisfy me in that way because I don't play games that way anymore.
Right.
And most
Right.
people don't. So yeah, I think that's a
A lot of
reasonable
people.
hypothesis.
A lot of
that-
people do though.
yeah, that's true. A lot of people do. And that's why people will buy one game and want the developers to make content for them forever. Be it a single player game or an MMO or whatever it is. So I don't know.
I think what people, I mean, what possibly people look for in an MMO is
LMNOP.
something that's going to draw a large community and has lots of facets. And yeah, the games usually just have their thing, not a lot of facets.
Especially at launch. And then if they're not like wildly successful at launch, it's hard to keep it going long enough to even develop those additional facets where you get a game like that's been going for 25 years, like World of Warcraft, and they've been able to. They have pet
Right.
battles now, but they didn't have pet battles at launch. They have, 50 different kinds of PvP modes, and they have, it's like none of that. They didn't have any of that, and we can't expect. If you want a new MMO, when the MMO hits early access or launch and it doesn't have 25 years worth of content, you can't say it's trash. You're going to have to give it the breathing room if you want it. Now, I'm talking
even-
to the entire
even-
market
even-
right now, and it's ridiculous for me to treat it like
But
a
even-
monolith.
But even classic WoW had PvE, it had PvP, it had raids, it had dungeons, it had, collecting things.
Yeah.
Whereas when most people talk about the game, it's just like, do they like the combat or not? And I mean, a new game is like, do I like the look? Do I like the combat?
Yeah. I don't think it's unreasonable to have a baseline list of things that you would want in an MMO, though.
Yeah, I think those 5 things would definitely be it.
I also think that when people say, do I like the combat? Does the combat feel good or not? I almost feel like if people are going to give feedback, they're going to zero in on like the one thing that they want to give feedback on, but they would not accept the entire product if it didn't have group content and PvP and PvE and raids and dungeons. So people may say, well, I just care if that combat just better feel good. They're lying. That's not all they care about.
Well, I mean, I think the people who say that are not potential MMO players
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah, because if you just like combat, well, then there are some brilliant combat games out there.
Yeah, like when Guild Wars 2 first came out, how they did dungeons. Well, this is how I remember it. Nobody liked it.
No, because there was no healer.
And they
tank.
iterated, right? And they iterated on it, and so yes, they're not going to. You're not going to have everything. You can't have 20 years of development as soon as you come out of the gate, for
Right.
sure.
Right.
But it still needs to be a world with lots of stuff to do in it. It can't be just a world where you walk around and talk to people on one end, or a world where you jump across chasms and fight people.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. And as you suggest, it costs a lot of time and money and effort to make that. And if we put the other qualifiers on top of it, like we want it to look modern and beautiful and in a modern game engine and have really cool graphics, well, that is an order of magnitude more cost than it used to be back in the old days too.
But I agree with you. I'm never attracted to a game that says, this is going to be just like old school blah, 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 but better, which I think was kind of put me off of Brighter Shores, right? Because he was sort of like, I'm going to make a better RuneScape.
Yeah.
Or all the games that say, oh, we have ex-Blizzard developers, and we're going to correct all the problems that WoW had. Like, don't tell me what you're not doing.
Right.
That doesn't give me a picture.
Right. And WoW didn't become WoW by having things that people, like being full of problems that people hate. Nobody, I mean, it was the best of the best. It's what everyone loved. So for you to go, yeah, obviously WoW is crap, so we're going to be better than that. You're wrong to start. So don't start
Like,
there.
I remember when Rift came out, I went over there to play Rift, which I played for several years. But that was exactly how people viewed Rift. It was sort of like WoW, but better version of WoW. And nowadays, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can say not only that it wouldn't be true, but I mean, yeah, if you're going to make a new game, it has to be new. It can't be like
Yes.
high fantasy trolls, orcs,
Right.
dungeons. It's got to have something that draws people in.
Yeah.
And yeah. And it can't be like, oh yeah, there's going to be a little bit of this, but if you don't like that, not that much. Like, leave that out then.
Right. All right, let's run through some of this list because there's a lot, but we'll just skim these and talk about the ones that have our hot button points. The one I wanted to just do a quick shout out for was Embers Adrift. So Embers Adrift is out now, but it's an indie MMO, and it's a new indie MMO, and they're trying to do something in the MMO space. They're trying to do something a little bit different. We actually did an interview 2 years ago with the game director, which was a fun conversation. I really respect what they're trying to do. They just moved over onto Steam, and they were running their own, they had their own payment processor. They actually had a problem. Their payment processor was a little bit shady and left with a bunch of their money and left them in a lurch. And it took them a couple months, at least like 3 or 4 months, to get over onto Steam. And during that time, they let everybody continue to play for free. They really take care of their player base. Now, their player base is not very big, and I think it's a shame because it's one of these games that there's one bit of criticism for, like modern gaming and modern MMOs where people will say, well, I hate this cash shop stuff, this free to play, microtransactions, pay to win. That's all garbage. If a game company would just make a nice MMO, do something interesting, and just have just a simple subscription model, they would win. They would kill it. They would take over the industry. Well, that's what Embers Adrift is doing. There's no cash shop. There's none of that stuff. They're very supportive of their users. It's just a monthly subscription that's very reasonable. And it's a fine game. It's not WoW. And so nobody plays it because then they just go play WoW and they buy all the microtransactions. And in every other game, even though you've got, again, it was just those few vocal people claiming that this is the way to go. So it's worth looking at, but it's also that warning lesson of people might say, and it might, you could probably do polls of across MMO. I feel like you could do a poll across MMO users. Now, I'm not being too scientific about it, but I feel like you could do a poll across MMO users and say, would you prefer, like microtransactions free to play, or would you prefer just the subscription model? And they would say, oh, yeah, subscription model, just a subscription model. And then when an MMO comes out with just a subscription model, it actually doesn't matter. And they don't care about that. They want all of the other things that make them want to play the game that they're playing now or the game that they're going to play next. But shout out to Embers Adrift. I like what they're doing. They're a small indie team. They're doing a good job of trying to make something new happen in a new way for them.
Ember.
Oops. I wanted to play their little thing. I played it for a while. It's slow progression. That's, again, people claim to want that. It's about, you got to group up a lot. People claim to want that. But do people actually want it? I don't know. Not having that much numbers of players lately.
I don't know anyone who asks for those things.
I
know what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying that the internet says that.
Yes.
But
yes,
in answer to your question of to answer your question of, does anybody really want that? I'm saying,
no.
I don't think so.
Yeah. The most upvoted opinions on forums and, Steam discussion groups and Reddit will all say that for MMO, like r/MMORPG, MMORPG.com. That's the most upvoted opinion. But yeah, you're right. That's not actually.
I mean,
that's not what actual players who are actually playing the game and not responding to those surveys.
They don't say that in words, but and those people that are saying that, I don't think they're being disingenuous. I think what they want it to be engaging, and they think what made it engaging was slower. But it's just more than that makes anything engaging. And that's like what everybody wants to know is what makes it engaging. So a bunch of people on the internet not knowing what makes it engaging is not surprising.
Right. If Henry Ford had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Okay, let's talk about the ones in development. And the first two are fun ones because they may never be out of development because they are in development. Star Citizen is the classic case for this because they've been in development for 11 years now. They've spent almost $800 million over those 11 years. So by release, I'm sure there'll be over $1 billion in revenue and spend. It's amazing. It's amazing technology. I played it. It is definitely playable, but it's also definitely in development and at best alpha. And they are in this weird state. They've gotten themselves in this position where people keep throwing money at them to keep doing what they're doing, which is like alpha, like inventing all this new technology, going really slow, delaying 2 more years. Oh, it's going to be delayed another couple years, 3, 4, maybe it's going to come out by 2030. And then people are giving them thousands of dollars. So why would you stop? Why would you go, we really got to buckle down and release this game? Because maybe people will stop giving you money if you actually release the game. So they treat it in some ways as an actual game. They say, hey, we're going to have an in-game event. This is a new in-game event for this new system. And you get to do these deliveries. We're releasing a new star system. Big launch party for releasing the new star system. But then constantly with every new update, there's mass parts of the game that are just broken and don't work, and new things break all the time. And all the supporters of the game will say, of course, it's an alpha. This stuff's going to break. It's not going to work. And but they like have sales to get new players into the game and have a new player experience and a starter package to become part of the game and part of the universe and join our new event. So it's like in this weird marketing state where they treat it like a game, but it's not. And the fans are in this weird state where they claim it's a game and then they also claim it's not a game. So it's a fun one to study from that perspective because I don't know if it will ever actually be a game, and yet it's super cool and fun. And if you get in there and play it, it's also, and that night you happen to not get everything that you did wiped out by bugs. It's really, really amazing. So,
I mean, it's also like a community. I mean, I talked to a guy who's a Star Citizen player at length, and he was extremely passionate about it. And he had friends who were passionate about it, and they not only spend money, they hang out together about it and everything. It kind of is the definition that I was saying earlier of an MMO.
Yeah. But it's weird because
it is weird. I agree, it's weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's also it gets wiped. All of your progress gets wiped on at least once every 6 months. So it's like, it's not even persistent. So but still it's an amazing space simulator MMO product. So yeah, fun one to watch over time to see if it ever gets released. Also in this category, a little bit newer, not been around for 10 years, but been around for a handful of years and probably may end up following the development model for, although they don't have the revenue trick that Star Citizen has. So this is Ashes of Creation. So Ashes of Creation is in this weird state where they, are developing this next gen MMO, and they're trying to make it. They're trying to bring in a whole bunch of things that, again, the community and the creators claim are what MMO players want, which is a living world and a persistent world that players can interact with and become part of. And the parts of that sound really amazing. Like there's these town nodes, and you can level those nodes up over time. But in order to make that work, they claim PvP needs to be central to that, because now you need to have this struggle between people, needing to want to take over a node and struggling against other people that are trying to keep you from taking over that node. So there's that bit of it, which tends to not be something that I think that mainstream MMO players actually tend to like in large numbers. It tends to make a game a little bit more niche from an RPG perspective, but they want to make that part of what they're doing. And then they are also just reinventing, which is slowing things down for them. They're reinventing everything that every MMO has ever done. Quests and skills and classes and class balance and dungeons and raids and all of that, which takes a long, long time and a lot of money. And they're also trying to do it in like an Unreal 5. And yeah, they already migrated to Unreal 5. So huge investment required to get anywhere close to what they're trying for. And yet, people have bought into their early access story and paid a bunch of money to become part of the alphas so far and play a bunch of the game. And you can get in there and you can play. All the players right now aren't very happy about it, because there's going to be another big wipe and an update, and everything kind of got really boring because development has slowed down until they get to their August phase 3, phase 2. I forgot what's coming in August. And then all the players claim that the supporters, all the early access people claim that they're going to come back for the August update. But what they don't have that Star Citizen has, which is going to force them to probably need to release this game at some point, that Star Citizen does not need to, is Star Citizen sells spaceships. So in addition to developing the game and putting out updates, Star Citizen will put out a new spaceship, and people will buy that spaceship for money. Hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in some cases. Some of those big spaceships cost like $1,000. And people buy them, and that's the revenue stream for Star Citizen. Ashes of Creation has the buy-in to the early access, and there's sort of like early access starter kits, but there's nothing else you can buy along the way, so they don't have that ongoing revenue from each person, which makes it more of a... They're not going to have the revenue supporting infinite development like Star Citizen has. So I have more faith that Ashes of Creation will need to release or stop development, where I think Star Citizen could just be an alpha forever. But yeah, I played a bunch of Ashes of Creation. I think it definitely has potential. I think in the same way I had trepidation, which I think is being proven out for the Dune, where trying to mix PvE players and PvP players together and force them to play together and basically have PvP everywhere, I think that's a terrible model and will never work anywhere. And
one of the things that WoW has done over the generations with PvP is, over time, they kept trying new ways of getting PvE and PvP to mix, and at some point they just decided, no, we're just going to keep them separate, and that's what they are now and have been for a while. And that now PvP is just another offering of the game. It's not a source of contention. Like, PvPers don't have to raid to get their gear. PvEers don't have to PvP to get their gear, which is one of the things they tried.
Yep.
Yeah. And when WoW started out, it was like open everywhere, PvP.
I think you have to separate them. And I think that's the right thing to do. And so
Yeah,
I agree with that evolution over time. And each of these
I think
new
that's
games,
what we've learned from it. Yeah.
each of these new games that claim that they're going to have some sort, and the Ashes of Creation, and I haven't
And New
heard,
World.
in the last few months they could have. I haven't listened to the devs talk about it it's like in the last 5 months. But what they would used to talk about was, no, we're going to have these systems where, yeah, it's open PvP, you can be attacked everywhere, but there'll be penalties and people aren't going to want to. And my argument there, and we're seeing this in Dune, is there is no penalty that you can apply to a PvP griefer person on the internet that wants to spoil someone's day. There is no possible penalty that you can apply that will cause them to not want to do what they're going to do, which is ruin somebody's day. Up to and including saying, if you attack someone who, who is lower level than you and kill them and take their stuff, we're going to delete your account. They would find a way to spin up new accounts, or they would create new accounts every day and get their accounts deleted. But then like put on Twitch, hey, here's another guy I killed and got him to quit the game. Yeah, my account got deleted, but woo, look at me. They'll do it. There's no penalty. So these ideas of these like in-game penalties where, oh, it's, costs are going to go up for you in the shop. Like, oh, that's so cute. You guys have no clue what griefers, the lengths that griefers will go to grief. And get that because they get a kick out of it, because they have no empathy, because they're 16 and they can't expect them to have empathy. They're like, dude, did you see what I just did? Wow, that's amazing. Because that's
they haven't grown it yet.
Right. All right. So Ashes of Creation, I think, is also going to be an interesting one to watch over time. And you could try it now if you want. Same with Star Citizen. Another one that you can try right now that I have and is trying to do something different is Bitcraft. So Bitcraft is a low poly style, but it's what I would call like a modern low poly style. Mm-hmm. It's a massive world. And then the idea of this massive world is, because it's lower poly and it's sort of got like these, sort of like this meshing system, you could traverse this world for hours and days. But then they also have this idea that you get together with a group of people and you can carve out a space in that world and you can transform that space. You can build a village. And this whole idea of working together with people to build a town or build a village with your little low poly people is kind of the target for the game, the target sort of like a game loop. It's very grindy because it's also kind of brings in a little bit of that kind of like the feel of how RuneScape works, where it takes a long time to build up your skills. They want it to feel that way. And they also want that to drive the interaction between players. So if you're going to build up a little town, well, maybe if you're going to grind out getting all the logs and somebody else grinds out getting all the stone, you can't do it all yourself because it would take you a year. So if you actually want to build a little town, that kind of friction drives that kind of group content. I think they're not too far off of making some of this work for them. I think they have fallen into a little bit of the trap, though, of their dream of, yeah, we're just going to have, tens of thousands of players that are all going to want to get together in these groups of 30 to 50 people and play online every day and, grinding out their little specialization to work together to build a town. There will be people that will want to do that. I just don't think it's going to be hundreds of thousands of people. It's going to push them, I think, to be a little bit more niche than they would probably want. And then if they end up niche and having smaller populations of people in this this super giant emerging world, they could end up driving themselves into a situation where the game feels kind of dead in terms of the amount of people that are playing, or as you walk around the world, it's just nobody there.
Yeah.
But it's cute. I like the stylized art style that they have. It is just, you got to be ready for the grind, and it's kind of boring. It's kind of like that room, but a lot of people like that. So as like a second screen game, it's not too bad. But how many of us play second screen games like we used to as well? I think there's less of that going on these days. Because there's so many other ways to have like idle click content that there's no one second screen experience like old school RuneScape. Like, because if you want old school RuneScape, go play old school RuneScape, and people do. Millions of people play that. So we'll see. We'll see where they head. I like that they're trying something different and new, and I think they've gone a fine direction in trying to bring their vision to life, and I applaud them for that, certainly. Did you play any of Bitcraft? I thought you did play a little bit.
No, I was interested in it, but no, I haven't.
I thought you got into the alpha with me, and now it's early
Palia,
access.
yes, but not Bitcraft.
Yeah, we played a lot of Palia, which is not in this list. So what we left off of this list, so we're going to go through probably about 5 more here, 6 more. What we left off of this list was the sort of like the moderately multiplayer online survival-esque games.
Mm-hmm. Or sim-esque.
Yeah. So Palia is one of those ones where there's like, 20 to 50 people in a server at a time. It's kind of MMO-ish, but it's not completely MMO-ish, and it's a little bit more survival, and it's sort of like smaller groups and not massive, towns of people. In the same way that a lot like Dune Awakening. You could argue that Dune Awakening, they don't call it MMO RPG anymore, but in some ways it had a little bit of that. You have hundreds of people together in the deep desert, and you got like sort of the layers of the smaller servers that feed into that, but it's different. So we left those out, and we may come back to those in like a survival update in a month or two after we get done playing Grounded. That's
Right.
not on the list. Here's one of these that are, remember EverQuest? We're going to make a spiritual successor to EverQuest. Well, I can still go play the EverQuest. Why wouldn't I just go play EverQuest? Not bad, but it's Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. So Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is early access. You can go play it now. It's styled like EverQuest. I think I listened to a couple, like the IGN video that says, this could very well end up being your dad's favorite MMO in the coming years. Because it is. It's inspired by EverQuest, and it feels a little bit EverQuest-y. It's a little bit more modernized than EverQuest, and sort of like the way some of the systems and the skills and the combat work and the UI, but not very much. And people are wondering a little bit with this game, kind of why. Because I can. I could just go play EverQuest. Or I could play a game that I could play WoW Classic. Same thing. So why would I play Pantheon Rise of the Fallen? It's not enough different. And if you're saying we're just like also EverQuest, yeah. Like
I feel like they're
EverQuest.
trying to answer the question of why aren't people playing EverQuest?
Right. And falling into that trap of people saying, man, if somebody would just redo EverQuest. Remember when we all played EverQuest? Because that was the only thing that there was. There was only 2 MMOs ever. Back then, it was like EverQuest and Ultima Online. Remember when we all played EverQuest? If somebody would just redo EverQuest, we could just all play EverQuest again. And that's not true. That's not going to happen.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I guess, but that's their business, right? They're trying to figure out why people aren't playing EverQuest and put that into EverQuest.
Right.
Just like it kind of reminds me of, you've even said like with Lotro, Lord of the Rings Online, if it didn't look so dated, it would be more appealing to you.
It would be. That is true. But there's every time I think through that in my head, the list gets a little bit longer of like
Right.
the things
And also,
that I would want to change.
what we're missing here is for something to be more appealing doesn't mean I'm going to play it.
Correct.
So like, don't base your business plan on me saying it would be more appealing.
Correct. It's tough. Now, here's another one that I think is modernized and doing, bold move cotton, but I think it could work out for them is Core Punk. So Core Punk is an early access. It's an early access MMO. And what they've done here is they've definitely brought in modern combat, modern graphics, modern systems, in that they've taken ARPGs, modern ARPGs, and made that the basis of an MMORPG. So it's massively multiplayer. You pick your little character and class. It's modern. It's like low poly style, not low. I wouldn't even say low poly. It's like medium poly stylized graphics, but it's definitely modern because like all of the textures are they're 4K textures and everything's very well rendered. It's very pretty. I think they've done a good job when you zoom in. But you play the game in an ARPG over, top down, 3/4 view. That's the combat. You play it, it almost looks like you're playing Diablo 4 or
Right.
any of the ARPGs. But I think it could end up working. So you have skills, you have your build, you're skilling up your skills in your combat, you have inventory, you have crafting, you have loot, your loot's dropping for you, you have group content, you have dungeons, but it's a sort of like a modern style of gaming that's millions and millions of people really like. So I think there's a potential here of sort of like bringing in some elements of genres that people really love and mashing them up. What if we did the RPG, the MMORPG part of things on the ARPG style of gameplay and combat? Could we get something magical happening? And I think the answer is potentially yes. So we'll see. I keep getting very close to just, I don't know why I haven't played this yet. I should play this. I almost played it. I almost bought it in the past week just to play it. It's still early access, but again, one of the updates. Oh, Force Gaming just did an update. It was a sponsored update. They asked him to come back because he had played it and did a piece on it about a year ago, and they paid him to come back and play it again. But I trust him, and he's very honest in his reviews. He said, "Wow, they've done a lot of the things that I said in my video from a year ago of I think they need to tune up this or do this differently." He's like, "Oh my God, they've done all of those things and it feels really good." So makes me excited for what they're doing here. So I think it'd be a fun one to try, and a good experiment in the MMORPG genre to try things this way and bring in some of these things that are working well in other genres and people are really liking. If you can get some of that feel, I almost think WoW has been trying to bring some of what they're doing in Diablo, not graphically like this with the top down, but the way loot works and some of those kinds of systems that they do have success with in Diablo, and using that to modernize WoW. Yeah. Which I think is a good move.
They do it the other way around too. They do all their games share, and they introduce stuff from games that are not Blizzard games too.
Yes. Right. Yeah. The next one we could because we did a whole episode on it. So go back to our episode on Brighter Shores. I think Brighter Shores is going the wrong way, which was we're just going to make RuneScape that everybody still loves old school RuneScape, but we're going to do it better. Now, it's the creator of original RuneScape, old school RuneScape, Andrew Gower, who's leading up the project. So if anybody could do it better, maybe he could. But to say what's arguably the number one or number two MMO that you're going to do it better. People love old school RuneScape. So I don't think the players of old school RuneScape are saying, yeah, we love this, but but we don't like it, so you could do it better. That's a tough one to go after, like the best of the best in terms of what people are liking right now. And
especially
make that
if
your
you
target.
have years already invested in it. And I'm not talking about necessarily
Right, there's
sunk
also that.
cost. I'm talking about, everything you've collected, everything you've achieved, which I put in air quotes because it's not like you're out mowing the lawn. You're just playing a game.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, so that's a tough one. So I don't know what Brighter Shores is going to do. I did see, and I did laugh, and I did comment on a Reddit post that came out along the lines of, in the past week, Andrew Garrow put out this big post, and in all the social feeds and on their site that said, "Hey, milestone, and this is where we're at, and this is all the things we're changing and we're updating. We took a bunch of the feedback because they're out in early access right now, and here's how we're going to sort of evolve things along. We really want to work with the community to make this." Number one upvoted response in this Reddit post replying to this is, "Too little, too late." So, voted to the top. That's what everybody thinks. And all of, all the posts below that are basically agreeing. Too little, too late. They're in early access. How could it be too late? They haven't even released the game and it's too late?
I mean, that is the peril of early access, right? Is that people make a judgment.
Yep, I guess it is. But could you think for 2 seconds about, is it really too late if the game's not even out yet? It doesn't make sense. Yes, but no.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. We're going to get quicker on these next couple. I think the one out of this list of the Korean or the Korean style MMOs that I think has a chance in the Western market, because it's looking really good and will probably be out potentially early 2026, is Arcade Chronicles. So Arcade 2 was rebranded and renamed and reset in their development cycle to be called Arcade Chronicles. And one of the things that these Korean style MMOs do really well is really overachieve on visual style and modern engines and modern graphics, I feel like. They also tend to do action combat pretty well. So if you want an action combat and you're trying to bring in the people that love Souls-like types of games or Black Myth Wukong, those types of games, and try to marry that combat style into an MMO, that's where Arcade and a bunch of the other ones that we're about to talk about, they're going to do it in a different way that I think Western audiences won't like as much because of the monetization, but I think there's potential here. I really like the way it looks. What we haven't seen so far, and I really need to see before I will prejudge a game from their trailers, is show me in-game footage with the HUD. So all we've seen from this so far has been the without the HUD. Now, what they're trying to do with Arcade Chronicles is make the HUD much less necessary, but you can't have an MMO without the HUD, my abilities and those kinds of things. At least show me what's going on. Unless you're telling me that it's not that, and I just have to play this Souls-like combat and have no telegraphs of how far along is this fight even against this boss. It can't be that way, for one. And for two, I'm sure I don't have just 2 buttons worth of abilities, because that tends to not work as well. So show me the HUD. Show me the HUD, because that is a big part of how these things work as well. But yeah, could be interesting. The people that have played it in early development have had some positive things to say. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where it goes. That kind of action combat if it's not super punishing in terms of immunity frames and dodge windows and that kind of thing, I could end up liking it. Well, the other problem that I think they're going to have to really prove is to make this kind of combat work in an MMO is very, very hard, because trying to get 30 people all together or 20 people all together on a boss fight, also still feeling like you're having the kind of combat impact that you feel like you have in a game like, Elder Scrolls, tends to almost not be possible, because you can't have that kind of reactive, I'm reacting to the boss and the boss is reacting to me, and have 20 people all feeling that at the same time, with the server lag and that you're getting in those kinds of situations, and the time, the round trips, and the predictive ability frames that are going back and forth between a server and 20 people. It just tends to nearly be impossible. If they can find some magical way to do that in an MMO and make it still feel like you're playing one of those games, I think it could be really amazing. So we'll see. And then we get to, and I'm just going to name them, and we can just show a couple frames of each. We get to 4 that are each very different styles, but the Korean style monetization, pay to win, gacha style games that work very well in those markets. They can work very well in those Eastern markets, in the Korea market, Korean game playing market. They can work very, very well and be very successful. But Western audiences tend to shun them, and these games tend to fail and just sort of get shut down in Western audiences because we tend to not like pay to win and gacha games in the Western market. So here's one. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, this is my judgment on it, right? I see it as predatory in my ignorance. It's not like I've played a bunch and speak from experience. I just feel like they're taking advantage of that feeling you have that you want to go further, you want to do better.
So pay a little money and you can go further and do better, or pay a lot of money and you can do even more better. And
right.
However,
right. And also, if games flirt with being addictive too, and that is, instead of trying to fight that, it's like leaning into it.
So the 4 games that are coming in 2025 or 2026 that fall into this category are Blue Protocol, Aeon 2, Chrono Odyssey, and Project LLL from NCSoft. Project LLL is almost like a future sci-fi future one. Looks really cool. Chrono Odyssey is more of the sort of like the fantasy, like fantasy Final Fantasy kind of cool graphics. Modern graphics, high fantasy kind of game. Blue Protocol is high fantasy cell shaded. Looks really cool in terms of graphically and stylized. And then what was the last one? Oh, Aeon 2, which is also sort of like high fantasy, magical, cell shaded, cool stuff. All of them though have greater or lesser degrees, and most of them greater degrees of the predatory monetization models. Like, hey, you ran out of energy today. If you pay a couple dollars, you could get some more energy to keep playing the game.
Yeah.
Like, I think 2 of the 3 have, or 3 of the 4 have that built into the system. Gacha loot boxes. 2 of the games have that kind of system. Pay to win, buy the best gear now. I think all 4 of them have that kind of thing built into the monetization. There's part of me, though, that said, why are we missing out? And should we think about this differently? And maybe is it not as bad and as terrible? Or maybe it is. I don't know. It just made me ask the question. If more and more of these games are becoming really successful in these other markets, are we missing out?
Right. So like what I said, my judgment on it is the context I'm having is that maybe that's how I am against it, but maybe that's not right. Maybe that's not how it is.
Yeah, maybe it's not. And maybe it's okay to have a little bit of pay to win and just, I mean, obviously.
Well, if that is a basic part of the game and that's understood when you sign up, it's different than if you suddenly introduce pay to win in an existing game.
Right. Like, yeah, like getting tricked into it and like having everything be a dark pattern. Yes, that would be bad and predatory. But if up front, all of the patterns and none of the patterns are dark, they're very, they're very well illuminated, pay to win patterns. Yeah. Then yeah, maybe it's fine. And maybe we're missing out by immediately saying, if there's any sort of like, pay to win or pay for power, that it's bad. Because there's millions of people that think it's not bad. And maybe if we were just satisfied with, yeah, some people paid to do this and I did not pay to do it and would rather earn it in game, and that's okay. I don't know, because it just feels like, even if it's well illuminated and not dark patterns, well illuminated patterns of monetization, that there's still just an undercurrent of predatory pricing, of predatory monetization that you can't ever get away from if you're doing gacha loot boxes and, pay for power. That there's no way that you can do that without still being predatory to some degree.
And I think there's another judgment that we have on it. And by we, I mean like the gaming, maybe some gamer with little g part of the community, in that if you pay to win, you're not good. You didn't learn to play. And therefore, I look down on you.
Yeah. And yet, a lot of I would argue that a lot of people that fall into that category that are going to count themselves as elite dudes and small G gamers would probably be lining up to pay because they're going to take every advantage that they can get, which they are, they do within the mechanics of the game. And I think would buy the, I don't know. I feel like a lot of them would say that, but then also pay. But yeah, then I wonder, are we missing out on some really amazing things? Because some of these things do look really amazing. Like this Project LLL by NCSoft. It's this sci-fi futuristic MMO with these giant boss battles and like helicopters and machine guns and mechs stomping around, and you're running around in a mech blowing things up. It looks really fun. But would I feel bad immediately but maybe that's okay. If I get in there and I feel bad and I stop playing because I feel bad, fine. If I get in there and get tricked into paying more money, it's really hard to trick me into paying more money. If I get in there and I see a little kid paying, getting tricked into paying more money on their parents' credit card, it's going to make me mad at the game developers.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a knee-jerk reaction to say, if there's any pay to win at all, then it's evil. I don't know. Maybe that's an out of date perspective.
It's like there's a fear that it's evil.
I wonder, yeah, it's probably worth some investigation into the people, like the massive populations of people that do play this, like in Korea and in the Asian markets. What do they think about it? And what do they do to protect kids from, running up bills on their parents' credit cards? And how does that work? And how do they justify it in their own minds that it's an okay thing? And maybe there is an argument that it is an okay thing because of the way that they've sort of like structured the education around it and educating parents around it, and everybody's just up to speed on how all these things works, and it's cool. Maybe it'd be fun to find out if that exists and if there is a way for these things to be okay and not predatory. All right, we're running a little bit long, but this last batch, and it's a big batch, but I think we're just going to sort of like name them off. There's a bunch of games that are in this category of just a twinkle in mommy's eye, twinkle in daddy's eye kind of games. And some of them have shown some things. Some of them have brought in a couple players, but there's a bunch of cool things potentially that are out there that are definitely in this category of no time are these. In no way are these going to be out in any reasonable time frame. So these are years away at best. In this category are games like Raph Koster's Stars Reach. Stars Reach is trying to, it's a little more cartoony of a look than I would like, but they're trying to make a really transformable world. So you could think of like almost like voxel based, but to the extreme, where you can terraform the planet, you can gouge out canyons and craft the planet as well as what you put onto the planet as part of the MMO, and transform the galaxy. And it's not just even a single world, but it's multiple galaxies. So that's the direction that they're heading. Wish them the best of luck, because this could be really cool. It's like this sci-fi terraforming galaxy that you can go impact and be a part of. Here's one that I am so excited for, even though we have no idea and might not be out for 10 years, but is definitely high on my watch list, is Light No Fire. We saw one trailer 3 years ago, and Sean Murray sucked us all in, and we would give Sean Murray all the money in the world if he would just give us another trailer. And maybe this is going to be out in 2026, or maybe it's going to be out in 2036. We have no idea.
I thought of this when you were saying earlier about the one game that was so big, and if they don't get enough people, it's going to feel empty. This is also very, very big, but they don't set the expectation that you need 50 or 60 people in your town.
Right. No Man's Sky is, tens of thousands of players playing that game, and it's super empty because it's a nearly infinite universe, and it's very hard to run into other players just like out and about on various planets. But you can pull people into your game. You can show them the bases that you built. There's a couple kind of social hubs where you can like meet up with some other players. But so I could see this game ending up working that way. But we don't know. We just do not know. It definitely, the way Sean has talked about it, though, he's talked about it in terms of it's a single planet, but it's a single planet scaled the way No Man's Sky scales the galaxies, the way they work. So you could end up being alone with 10,000 people, with 100,000 people playing concurrently. You could still be very alone somewhere on this planet that Light No Fire presents to you to go adventure in. But I'm there for it because I don't mind that kind of experience as well. I like it in No Man's Sky. But who knows? This could be 10 years away. MMO. How about a Warhammer MMO? There's a Warhammer MMO in development. There was a Warhammer MMO that came out 16 years ago. So we have not seen anything from Jackalyptic Games, but they're in theory developing a Unreal 5. So this footage, like if you look at any video on the internet, you'll see like video games coming in the future. This might be the next WoW killer. If they talk about the Warhammer MMO, they show this footage, and this footage is from the 16-year-old game because there is no footage. There's nothing to show for the game that's in development. So yeah, that's what we're showing here. This is actually a 16-year-old demo of the Warhammer footage. People that love Warhammer would love claim that they would love a Warhammer MMO. It remains to be seen if they will, and it remains to be seen if this will ever come out because we've not seen anything. But a lot of Warhammer stuff gets developed, and people will definitely Warhammer fans will definitely like it. It's a weird, interesting, fun, crazy bunch of lore too. So there's a lot of room to build on that IP in theory. But Warhammer gameplay also tends to be very like tons of mobs and massive bloody gory fights and stuff like that. So we'll have to see where they take it.
Yeah.
Here's one I threw in here because I don't know, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I put WoW Classic Plus in this future years development. Isn't it like a couple years away at best?
So I don't know. I don't really know if there is such a thing as WoW Classic Plus other than living in the world of people talking about it. And it means different things to different people too. So I don't know.
I thought they fully announced though that this is the direction they're headed, and this is why they're shutting down the
Okay, so you're talking about, so Season of Discovery,
yeah.
They shut down and they said because we want to work on other things for Classic.
Yes. But I thought they also telegraphed that we're going to take Classic and we're going to almost branch the timelines. And we're not going to keep going down this path of, now that we're going to release Mr. Pandaria, then we're going to release, every, expansion after expansion, just follow. And instead, what we're going to do, and this might take us a few years to develop, and I thought this came out in developer talks as well, or maybe this is all somewhat speculation still, but it was, or just hinted at in a couple side talks. But WoW Classic Plus would be, we're going to branch WoW Classic and we're going to develop it into its own MMO and give its own features and its own trajectory, and let it be its own thing that develops into the future, and not just have to release expansion after expansion after expansion and just follow retail for forever. That's going to take us a couple years to develop that vision, but that's where we're headed. That's my impression of what they, probably third hand what I heard. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would put that.
They did say they did say they were going to be working on more stuff for Classic.
Yeah. But they put no dates by that or put
no. And if if Season of Discovery was like a test of that idea, then basically Season of Discovery was a raiding game.
Yeah.
Like leveling was just what you had to do to get to the raids.
Right. Which I don't think that's all they would do for, I don't think that's where they would take WoW Classic and just do Season of Discovery. So yeah, they would have to figure out what they're doing. And if they're going to figure out anything, it's going to take them a little while.
I guess, and that seems like I was saying earlier about MMOs, that idea seems rather monolithic to me. So if they, I don't know. Like people talk about, well, maybe they'll bring some quality of life in from retail but go their own way, or maybe they'll develop further the stuff that never made it into the game but was on the drawing board and stuff like that. I don't know. I kind of have the same feeling for this that I have for everyone who says they're going to do a new MMO. It's sort of like, yeah, but Is
but
it going
that's
to be the
not what.
part of MMOs that I like?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah,
Like
and
if,
bold
yeah.
move, Cotton. We'll see if it works out for you.
Yeah.
Because what we asked for was WoW Classic, and we got WoW Classic, and we all played WoW Classic, and now you're saying it's going to be different. But
Well,
we asked for WoW
yeah.
Classic.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
That is fine because the people who are playing Classic do want new stuff and do want changes. Everybody wants to be able to customize their experience, right?
Yeah.
And we have that now, right? Because like WoW Classic progresses, right? Like WoW Classic it went vanilla, then Burning Crusade, then Wrath and Kata, and now it's doing Mist and Pandaria. So it's going through all the X packs. But we're talking about like the version of WoW that's just the vanilla portion.
Yeah.
And if they do new content for it, maybe Season of Discovery was a test for them in the sense of what is it going to take us to develop new raids? Because they did develop new raids.
Yeah.
For Season of Discovery, not so much of like what do we want the whole experience to be like. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Maybe
know.
like the pipeline and the development team structure and test some of those things.
Yeah.
And also maybe even just like playing and experimenting with, wild and weird abilities, and could we go in different directions with those, and how would that work, and what would that look like? So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
But it's
at least with this, we have an idea because we already know, WoW Classic. We already know WoW.
Yeah.
So we get some idea. It's better than like ArenaNet saying on a shareholder call that they might do Guild Wars 3.
right.
It's sort of like what would Guild Wars 3 even be?
Yeah. Which on this list, so if we go through the rest of the list, there are some of those kinds of things too, like EverQuest 3 coming out potentially around 2028. Okay. Well, we don't know what that is. So we'll see with some of those too. But yeah, like take WoW Classic. That's an idea that is at least is floated out there. That's kind of like on this list, a glimmer in somebody's eye. It sounds like.
Right.
So we'll see.
Right.
Other things on this list, the Lord of the Rings MMO by Amazon Games. So it was in development. It was canceled, but it was canceled because it was in development, co-development with Tencent, and they couldn't get that worked out. So they put a stop to that version of the project. And now, in theory, from a news perspective, have resurrected the project without Tencent. So in theory, this Lord of the Rings MMO new project is back on the table. It's back back on the menu, boys. So we shall see where that goes, but that again is years away.
I mean, I think that's fairly real. I think like Amazon.
Yeah, no, they've said yes, we're doing it.
They've said we're doing it. Yeah. Whether it actually happens or not is still a question.
But no, these are
WoW,
these are things that people have said that are happening. Riot's MMO, so based around League of Legends. They said they were working on it. They said they rebooted it, but now they are still saying, and the developers are saying, yes, it's a thing that we're working on. Big budget, but also very far away, and they're not showing anything yet. And it got restarted in 2023 when Ghostcrawler left, who was the ex-Blizzard lead from some of the World of Warcraft development. He was over there leading the development, and they decided to go a different direction and rebooted the project. So it got rebooted in 2023, but by all accounts, it's still in development as well. Years away at best. But exciting to a lot of people. And, I think people are watching it with bated breath. But don't hold your breath too long, because, again, it could be 10 years. Who knows?
I wonder about that. Like, who are the people that are excited for it?
There's some strong IP, especially after the League of Legends.
I definitely think there's strong IP. But what I'm saying is the people who like League of Legends.
Oh yeah, no,
aren't going to like an MMO.
Right.
And
right.
and if you're an MMO person, do you even know the lore of League of Legends?
Right. So I don't know. The ZOS MMO got canceled. So that's confirmed canceled, but that was a sci-fi MMO that was getting developed. And there was rumors that it might even have been a Star Wars MMO. I don't think it was actually going to be. But that's an example of one of these that was years away and it definitely got canceled in some of the recent upheaval in the games industry. EverQuest 3 is out there, again, confirmed in development, but probably 2028 before we even start seeing things out of it.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those that people are like, well, remember EverQuest? Just make the sequel and it will be successful. Will it? We don't know. We have no idea what they're doing. And then this last one, again, by Ghostcrawler, he left after it sounded like things weren't going the direction that he really hoped for in the League of Legends MMO. And maybe they were, maybe they weren't, who knows, but he went off and founded his own studio called Fantastic Pixel Castle and has been working on a new MMO codenamed Ghost that is very open in development. So they're very early in development on this MMO, and it's going to be years at a minimum before this comes out. But they're showing like super pre-alpha, like proof of concept stuff. And they're pulling in players, just like dozens of players. But you can see video on their website, which I think is a bold move, of like this super pre-alpha stuff and like some of these fights. And if you look at the fights, like the character models are the default character models from the Unreal Engine that are just like slotted in.
Right.
So this like super pre-alpha, they're just like slotting in some ability animations and these boss models, but they're trying to show off and experiment with some of how they want the structure of the game to work, because they would like to do a mix of what they call this shard model, and blue shards and red shards. And the red shards are procedurally generated areas where you sort of like jump into these red shard zones, and they're procedurally generated zones and you go on an adventure. And then the blue shard zones are handcrafted, persistent world zones where maybe then you're going to have like the NPC town, and you're going to have more of that part of what you expect from an MMO going on in there. So this red shard, blue shard model is sort of the key hook so far in what they're going after. We'll see where that works out. But that's another one that's just a glimmer in people's eye.
Yeah, I like it as an idea, because you have to have that hook of that place you're familiar to and you want to go back to.
Yeah.
But to be able to use procedurally generated zones would be a huge boost to how fast you can get more content out.
Right. Yes, it would, which is really attractive from a game development perspective, I'm sure. All right. This is our longest episode that we've done in a long time. I knew it would go long, but it's pretty exciting space. So it's been fun to talk about. It was fun for me to research it and just like see all of these MMOs that are either in just a glimmer in somebody's eye or are playable now. And it has made me want to go play some of them, like Corepunk, which I probably will play as an example. And other ones that I have played, like Star Citizen. It's made me want to go back and jump into Star Citizen, except all the discussion right now is things are so broken. It would probably be pretty frustrating to jump in right now, but I will be back in Star Citizen before long as well. But it's been fun. How about you, Sema? Did you have fun?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, since you had fun, we will do another show next week. We'll see. Maybe we'll talk about Wildgate and the Tales from the Shire, the little ugly hobbits game. We'll see. But that is it for today. All the feeds and subscribe links are on newoverlords.com, and the video's up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord. Tell us what new MMOs we should be playing. You can find that at newoverlords.com/Discord. And you can also follow on all the social networks, and we'll keep you up to date there too. And with that we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.